pasteurizing that's much more gentle and much more appropriate for cheese making. It's called high temperature short time. But generally fluid milk makers don't do that. That equipment's a little bit more expensive. So now you've done two things that when it says handle the milk and the curd gently, you've now done sort of two things against the gentle handling. You've shot the stuff through an orifice at really high pressure and you've heated it to 160 degrees for 30 minutes. And both of those things are going to break it down. One of the things that happens sometimes for home cheesemakers is that the pasteurization in particular makes calcium chloride it takes it out of solution and not available, and you'll get a soft set. So sometimes if you make cheese, I would make it once, like I buy milk, buy the best milk I could buy, make the cheese. If I didn't feel like my curd was firm enough, like I'm not really getting the texture I want, the next time I made cheese with that milk, I would find a recipe that included a little bit of calcium chloride. And you can add, that's naturally occurring in milk, normally you don't need to add that, but pasteurization process makes it sort of not available to the curds as they're formed. Okay, so you bought gentle, you bought the best milk you can buy, and you've really handled it super gently. And you're going to put it in a pan, and you're going to either, oftentimes we're cooling milk that comes out of the goat at 100 degrees, and we're going to cool it or heat it. Both things you're going to do as gently as you can do them. You're going to handle this milk as least as you can, and you're going to heat it to 74 degrees. And we really like this thermometer. It seems we've dropped it in fluid, the Polder. But you want kind of a nice, quick read thermometer. And you're going to bring this milk. The recipes I gave are generally like a half gallon or a gallon. We tend to make a little larger batches because we have a lot of milk here. But I would work on making gallon batches and kind of tweaking your recipes to a gallon. And of course, you should all keep a journal of cheese making. So it's like, what happened to my set? What happened to my time? You know, what's the story of this cheese that I made, and how did it turn out on the back end? So that when you repeat it, you can kind of get it right. Okay, so we brought this milk. This is actually only a half a gallon because that's just how much I had at the moment to make. So I brought this to 74 degrees, and I added two things. I added a starter culture, which I want to go get a sample of in a second. Joseph, would you do me the honors in the freezer door? There's some little packages that look like culture, like they're yellow,
okay,
and they've got like a bag clip on them.
Okay.
In the freezer door.
All right.
I added starter cultures to this. It's a lactobacillus. Basically, it eats lactose, which is a sugar. It's the sugar of milk, and it eats that and turns it into lactic acid. Because really, what you're doing to make cheese is you are creating acid and then using a coagulant to set the cheese. And in fact, cheese is very difficult on your cooking equipment. So you really need to kind of think in terms of stainless steel. I definitely wouldn't use aluminum. It's going to be super reactive. In cheese make plants, they spend so much money on the floors and the walls because the whey, that's a rennet.
Oh.
I'll keep this.
Okay.
I'll keep it in the freezer.
Oh, okay.
Freezer door. In a cheese make plant, the whey is very, very corrosive and very, very acidic. This is the byproduct of the cheese. And so use stainless steel. And I should also say work clean. I normally just wash my hands really well before I make cheese. I'm wearing a glove today because I got a cut and I have a bandage, so that's kind of, I just don't want that involved in my cheese make here. So work clean. Work clean and work with stainless steel if you've got it. Okay, so I brought the milk to 74 degrees. And the first thing I added was a starter culture, and it comes in little packages. It comes in little packages like this, and it looks like yeast, but it's really this particular kind of bacteria, lactobacillus, that eats lactose and turns it into lactic acid, which acidifies the milk, and you need to make that happen in order to make these kinds of, in fact, all kinds of cheeses except like paneer, which I'll kind of give you the quick and dirty on, but basically paneer is bring the milk to near boiling and add a quarter cup of lemon juice. And it'll coagulate. In that case, the heat is doing the work for you, and the extra acidity, like that's way more acid than you would sort of normally be adding. And so, in that case, you're speeding up the process, and it makes a nice fresh cheese. Paneer, like in palak paneer, in Indian recipes, or like Mexican farm cheeses are made this way. But it's not good for aging. Any kind of, like make it, eat it that night. It's fabulous. There's a recipe on the back. So In this case, what I'm going to do though is I'm going to bring 74 degrees and I'm going to add this lactobacillus. And we've kind of worked out, these are our recipes, we've kind of worked out an amount, and I use if I'm making a gallon of milk, I need 1/12 of a teaspoon. So how do you get 1/12 of a teaspoon? This is not like baking, it's a little bit more like cooking, so you can err. I do 1/3 of a quarter. Is a 12. Last time I was in math class. And I'm going to add the lactobacillus, and then for this mold ripened cheese, I'm also going to add Penicillium candidum, which is what's blooming. This white bloom on brie is Penicillium candidum. It's a very good tasting flavor. I think it's like healthy for people. The rind of the cheese changes the pH right at that surface, and so the cheese, when it has a mold on it, will ripen at a kind of different rate than it will if it doesn't have that. So that's why this is a recipe, is because it changes the way that this particular cheese is going to ripen once we get that mold going. And we're going to take a look in a second how to get that. But we've added it right here. So in this pot, 74-degree milk, my starter culture, in this case my Penicillium candidum, and the last thing is rennet. And rennet is naturally occurring enzyme. It's the fourth stomach of a veal is how they discovered it. They used the fourth stomach of a veal to carry Bedouin tribes like 8,000 years ago, when cheese was sort of first made. We're using the fourth stomach of an animal of a veal to carry milk across the desert, and it got shook up with this enzyme rennet, which is naturally occurring in this fourth stomach. And on the back end of this deal, instead of having milk, they had cheese. And that's fantastic. You want cheese. You want cheese because you can't drink as much milk as your animal makes. You've got to figure out a way to preserve it so that you can eat it tomorrow. You can eat it a week from now. You can eat it 6 months from now. You can eat it a year from now. And that's really one of the miracles of cheese, which I might tear up again because I love cheese so much. So this is a veal rennet. There's also some that are made out of the flour. Somebody can help me here. The flour that they extract rennet from. It just went out of my head. There's a flour. They can extract vegetable rennet from that too. You can also culture it off of mushrooms if you're vegetarian interested. Which always strikes me as a little bit weird because you've made so many animals. To make milk, you have to make animals. And you're going to have to kill some of those animals. That's just dairy reality, because you're going to have more boys than you can deal with, and boys aren't that useful in a dairy, and so you're going to eat some of those, so why not turn them into a little bit of rennet. That said, though, there's really good vegetable rennets out there. They don't do as well with long-term aged cheeses. Long-term, but they would have done great with this, because this is only going to be a few weeks. Long-term, like hard cheeses, parmesans, and stuff like that, almost all I use veal rennet. So I'm going to do for a gallon of milk, I'm going to do 3 drops of this rennet, and I'm going to mix that in distilled water. Chlorine will kill everything, all your bacteria that are getting to work. So distilled water is super duper duper important. So I'm going to take a 1/4 cup of distilled water. I'm going to mix my 3 drops of rennet in that. I'm going to give it a little bit of this. I'm going to let the starter culture sit for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to stir in this 3 drops of rennet in the distilled water. And then over the course of about 12 hours, this is a long. There's rapid set and short set cheeses. This is a long set. Over the course of about 12 hours, it will acidify, and that acidification allows the rennet to begin to coagulate. There's some cool biology of this, if you're interested, but basically it allows it to coagulate by knocking off a certain electron in a molecule. And that's fantastic. That's what you want to do. And then, so you're gonna have this set, and what you're looking for, I'm gonna kind of pass this around somehow. You're looking for something, we call it here the cheesecake, but and if I kind of cut this, you can kind of see the ways in which this has, and I'm gonna, you can, like the way it's kind of separated, gentle, gentle, gentle always with this. This is your baby now. Don't drop your baby, like don't mishandle your baby. And so even with my knife here, I'm going to be real gentle. You can kind of see the way the curd is separating.
Do you want me to take that around?
Yeah. That's great. I'm going to knead that back in a second.
Yeah.
So you can all take a look at that. And
You don't need to heat it all that.
no, we're leaving. In fact, this is great cheesemaking weather, room temp, 72 degrees. It's super fantastic. Yeah, once you've heated it to 70 or cooled it to 74 degrees. On this particular cheese, we're not gonna cook it again.
I'm
If we were
sorry.
making cheddar, we were gonna do another cook. If you're gonna do hard cheeses, you're gonna do